Welcome to this video from the RC Ground School. As I mentioned in the previous video, sometimes you can find yourself in a rural area where there simply aren't any model flying clubs or even individuals who enjoy RC flying hobby. In this case, you'll have to teach yourself to fly. The good news is that lots of folks have done this, and recent improvements in onboard electronics makes this much easier. The first problem you'll need to solve is where to fly. Knowing where you plan to fly is one of the key pieces of information necessary to make a good airplane selection. This has become more complicated with new restrictions imposed by the federal government. We'll have a standalone video on this topic as it's a bit complicated. Here are some things to consider and be aware of. First, FAA restrictions require you to register yourself and to place your registration number on the outside of your model if it weighs more than 250 grams. Nearly all model airplanes will exceed this limit. Next, if there's an airport nearby, you may also need to get permission to fly from the FAA. This is done through a smartphone app. You'll also need to get the property owner's permission. Don't assume that they won't mind. Ask first. Your AMA membership provides you with liability insurance, so that might help you get permission. City and county parks may have places designated for model airplane enthusiasts to fly. They may also prohibit model flying. Be sure to check things out using a park department website or visiting with the park administrator. Again, your AMA insurance may be helpful here too. Also, be aware that government bodies often refer to both quadcopters and model airplanes as drones. If you see drone restrictions, that applies to you too. This also applies to school athletic fields and other school property. Let's talk a bit about using a sim. Since you won't have the benefit of an instructor with a buddy box to help prevent crashes, it's a good idea to get an RC computer simulator to practice with. The sim will let you get your first 100 or so crashes out of the way in the computer where there's no harm to your model, maybe just a little to your pride. You can get a basic sim for just a few dollars that comes with a dummy controller. You can also download a basic sim like the Flying Model Simulator or FMS and use a PC gamepad to control the models. I've got a separate video on my RCPlaneviews channel on using the FMS sim. I'll link it on the end card to this video. There's also a simulator-specific video as part of this video series. Basic sims will help you achieve one important goal, that is maintaining model orientation and control. Many new modelers take a while to figure out the inputs as the model's reaction to the input appears to change when flying away from you versus flying towards you. If you can fly your model around in circles and do basic maneuvers like horizontal figure eights, where you're turning both left and right and can fly smooth climbing and descending turns, you'll be miles ahead when you take your model out to fly for the first time. Advanced sims are more costly, but provide all the same advantages of basic sims, plus their excellent graphics and aerodynamic modeling provides you with room to grow your skills. Some also have virtual instructors who can help you practice certain skills. Many of those pilots you see doing extreme aerobatic maneuvers start by practicing on their sims. I know a world-class RC competitor that has spent many hundreds of hours on his sim. The most effective use of your model sim is to design some simulator missions with specific goals you want to achieve, not just go tear up the simulated sky. As a beginner, Go up and do right-hand turns until you're sick of them. Then do left-hand turns. Next, do climbs and descents. And when you've mastered those, add left and right turns to those climbs and descents. You can certainly give yourself some playtime, but don't forget, there's a method to your madness. If you watched the previous video about learning to fly with an instructor, this next section will be a bit redundant. However, the information is important, so we'll include it here too. For the electric airplane modeler, the characteristics of a good trainer airplane are the same whether flying with an instructor or not. Good trainers include the following characteristics. First, good trainers are usually high-wing aircraft like a Cessna 150. High-wing airplanes tend to be more stable and easier to fly. Next, some good trainers have mid-wing configurations with rear-facing motors to help prevent prop damage during rough landings. Some of these can be hand-launched and belly-landed. Good trainers are also made of EPO foam. EPO foam is dense and survives crashes quite well. EPS foam models generally disintegrate when they crash. Good trainers also have spare parts that are easy to obtain. Despite your best efforts, crashes happen, and being able to simply replace a broken horizontal stabilizer or propeller reduces stress and will get you back in the air sooner. Last, good trainers have electronic support systems built into the model. These stabilizers can help by leveling the wings when bounced around in the wind, and in many cases can return the airplane to level flight when commanded to do so, assuming there's enough altitude. This last characteristic is especially important if you are teaching yourself to fly. Let's expand on this a bit more. Electronic support systems or stabilizers are either separate components or integrated into the aircraft's receiver. The various functions are normally controlled by a switch on the transmitter. These functions are very helpful but often complex. Be sure to read and understand how your electronic support system impacts the model. For example, I've seen new pilots nearly have their models fly away with a bit of a breeze because the electronic support system wouldn't let the airplane bank more than 5 degrees, and the pilot didn't remember how to select a more aggressive profile. These systems usually provide the following functions. First, basic stabilization helps keep the wings level in bumpy air. Next, control input limiters prevent new pilots from putting their planes into extreme attitudes. Auto recovery modes will automatically return the airplane to level flight when the pilot activates a switch on the transmitter. This assumes the plane has enough altitude to complete the maneuver. Aerobatic stabilization modes will help hold the aircraft in extreme attitudes such as a hover or a knife edge. Last, some systems include GPS monitoring and can return the airplane to where it took off. This is very common in quadcopters. These systems normally don't land the airplane, but they will get them back to where you can have them in sight again. Receivers such as the Detrim MSR66A and SR86A include many of these functions, as does Horizon Hobby's Safe branded receivers. In the next video in this topic, we'll chat a bit about quadcopters and those air vehicles normally referred to as drones. As we close this video out, if you found it helpful, please click on the thumbs up icon and subscribe to the RCPlaneviews.com channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching.